This podcast is for general informational, educational purposes only and is not to be considered medical advice for any particular patient. Clinicians must rely on their own informed clinical judgments when making recommendations for their patients. Welcome everybody to another episode of PHM from Pittsburgh. I am your host, Tony Tarchichi. I'm a Med-Peds trained pediatric hospitalist at the UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh in the Paul C. Gaffney Division of Pediatric Hospital Medicine. We are coming to you, we have traveled. We are coming to you from Seattle at the Pediatric Hospital Medicine National Conference. We are doing these special episodes for the conference. These are what I learned today at PHM. This is day 2. I believe today's Friday, unless I'm completely mistaken. And we have a fellows edition of the podcast. This episode is going to have all fellows in pediatric hospital medicine from all over the country. We're going to go around the room. We'll start with me, and we're going to say one topic that we learned today at the Pediatric Hospital Medicine National Conference. Each fellow will introduce themselves and where they're from, tell us what they learned, and then we'll go from there. It should be a short episode, but for those of you who weren't able to make it, because again, someone has to take care of the patients that are still coming to the hospital, so we thank you all for staying home. Or for those of you who missed a specific lecture because you went to something else, this will give you a brief idea of what happened. So for me, the lecture I went to today was surgical co-management. That's one of them. That stood out because when David Rappaport spoke, he talked about atelectasis as a cause of fever post-operatively and how it actually is not a cause of fever post-operatively, and that's a medical myth. There was a number of studies done that showed it is not, and they think that post-operative fever is simply the inflammation from the surgery, not atelectasis. So I found that very interesting. That's me, and I'm going to go to my left.
I'm Elise Lu. I am the second year Hospital Medicine Fellow at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh with Tony, and I attended a talk on de-implementation today, which brought up some interesting things about cognitive psychology and the fact that we as humans are much more afraid of losing something that we already have than gaining something new. And so that affects how we respond to things like de-implementation and doing less. And so taking that into consideration when you're trying to get buy-in from your teams and your hospital system can be helpful in your QI de-implementation work.
My name is Grace Slater. I am the first year fellow at the Children's Hospital at Pittsburgh with Elise and Tony. I went to quite a few great talks today, but one of my favorites was the clinical talk on procalcitonin. I picked up some great tips from that talk, including the fact that procalcitonin rises faster and higher than the CRP, and it's also a great use for negative predictive values in invasive bacterial infections in infants, and also in community-acquired pneumonia, but its positive predictive values are not quite as strong. So great negative predictor, but not so great in the positive predicting category.
I am Brandon Palmer. I'm a first-year fellow at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. I went to a lot of great workshops and talks today, but the one that stands out is a workshop done by Mary Odolini and Jen O'Toole on how to take your teaching and your educational endeavors and turn it into medical education scholarship. And the point that really stuck with me is you don't necessarily have to have hard data in order to publish. There's a lot of journals and other avenues that are looking for quick hits and innovative ideas in addition to the data-driven scholarship. So I'm now going to be looking forward to turning a lot of my different teaching endeavors into actual scholarship.
Hi, I'm Jan Fune. I'm a second-year fellow at Helena Children's Hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I love going to these conferences, and my favorite talk today was the new culture on no culture. And I feel like generally we're so used to ordering labs and relying on labs, but one thing that all the different members said that were all experts in early onset sepsis was the importance of doing clinical exams and doing serial clinical exams. And that's one thing I'm going to bring back to my institution, is reminding us to be clinical.
Hi, I'm Renee Jordan. I'm also a fellow from Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. I'm a second year with Jan. Can I give a quick shout out real quick to DeVos? We love this podcast, and so Jan and I are super excited to be on it. Hi, DeVos people, and thank you. Thank you, Tony, for the opportunity. So PHM has been awesome. I think everyone gave a clinical tidbit, so I'll just give what I learned today from a diversity standpoint. I went to both the gender bias and implicit bias sessions, and both of them were great in teaching me that, one, it's worth the fight and worth the education for all of us to learn about our implicit biases and to support each other through all of our biases that we have, because it helps institutions financially, it helps our patients, and it helps us. But the last take home that I learned at the last session that we were just in was that if everyone works on helping all of us point out all of our own implicit biases, it becomes a teamwork. It's not just on one person. We can all help each other and make it a welcoming environment for everyone, which will make PHM even greater in the future.
I think that's great. And I will say one more thing. Our plenary speaker this morning, in case anybody at home was unable to make it, is Dr. Quinn Capers from Ohio, who gives a fantastic talk on implicit bias in medical student acceptances. If you missed it, you can actually YouTube him, Google him. He has a number of YouTube videos out on this topic. It's just an excellent listen. And I've listened to a few of them, so I can definitely recommend it. All right, I want to thank all of you today for being here. I really appreciate you taking your time and being on the show. I think today was a great day at PHM. Seattle's beautiful. I hope you'll have a great time later today and get some good dinner. And from there, we're going to give our acknowledgments. So thank you very much to all of you listening at home, to the University of Pittsburgh and the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh for continuing to support this, for this AAP section on hospital medicine for asking us to do this, to all the institutions represented today, Children's Hospital of LA and the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. And of course, University of Pittsburgh, thank you for giving your fellows some time for this. And you all have a great day. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening.